First off, guys, congrats on the show. Amazing 6 episodes. I have to imagine that with how strong these 6 episodes are and how strong the movie is, it's hard for me to imagine that you guys had an easy time settling on these six. So I'm curious, like, what kind of other ideas did you guys have that did not make the cut? Because these six are so strong, I can't even imagine how strong the stuff you guys had to cut are.
Oh, that was a fun process trying to narrow down, and really it just came to just the characters we love. We'd go around the crew and ask who are their favorite characters, and everybody had a different one in the world. But really just trying to make each other laugh. And there were 10 or 12 ideas thrown out there early on, and we narrowed it down. But it was a challenge, right, Josie?
Yeah, I mean, even with the our romantic comedy episode, The Flash Dinner Rush, we were finding that episode. And originally, I mean, we kind of said it was always kind of a romantic comedy. And then we sort of ventured how to frame it, sort of a nature documentary. We tried. Right. There was reality TV.
It was a cooking show at one point, a Flash cooking show.
So we definitely explored the different genres, but ultimately felt like this is a simple romantic comedy. But even that's when the horror genre came up as like, oh, this would be funny, and so we sort of filed it away in our minds. But also, the musical episode started as a heist, which was in a sort of Ocean's 11 like heist, which I thought was so exciting as well. So I feel like, again, the Zootopia world, the characters are so rich and wonderful that they lend themselves to all these different genres and stories.
How dark were you guys willing to get with the musical episode? Because by the end, it was like an episode of Family Guy. I laughed so hard by the truck. I was like, this is pretty crazy. It's pretty funny. And I'm curious, like, how do you sort of teeter the line between, okay, this is pretty dark, pretty almost kind of adult kind of humor, and still sticking to the Pixar sort of tone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, I mean, we just kept, to be honest, we just kept pushing it. How can we make each other laugh? And we kept saying, is this too far? Is this too far? Is this too far? And we were also encouraged by our executive producers like Jared and Byron. And Jared in a meeting said, why don't you just have the truck hit the goat? And okay, I guess we can do that. Let's try that. So
yeah, really encouraging to hear from our executive producers to really go as far as we can, because in Star you can always pull back. And we found that sometimes if you start sort of neutral or not pushed enough, that it gets watered down through the process. So we really just go for it because we can, again, always push back.
Yeah. And Nathan, you would tell us once in a while, right?
I usually would say, you sure you want to do this? Usually Josie trying to be like, we do. And I'll add, like, the studio, we talk about our executive producers. The studio, we leveraged our artists as well. There's a lot of filmmakers in our studio, and we'd show it to people in our studio along the show and say, what do you think? And we did have some people go, are you sure you want to do that? And we'd say yes. And it all worked out really, really well. But I think, leveraging off of everyone's kind of understanding of what the Disney tone is really helped to make sure that we're in the sweet spot for these shorts.
Exactly.
And once in a while, to that point, just to build on that really quick, we'd have a story artist or someone on the crew say, I think you might have gone a little too far. I might not show this to my 6-year-old. So we'd hear that feedback and we'd say, we want Zootopia to be enjoyed by everybody. Let's pull back a little bit, but get the same tone we want.
Was there any sort of pushback with the sloth dinner episode? Because that was kind of anxiety inducing. Like that whole thing where, oh my God, is she going to get to the concert or not? The process in making that particular episode.
Wow. I mean, it was, I want to hear Josie's answer, but I'll just say the DMV sequence that Josie and the team worked on is so well done from the original movie. This episode was really hard to craft because how do you eat the it's to me it's perfect comedy. So I don't know, Josie, how did we try to?
What was nice is we felt like, much like the Duke Weaselton episode, we knew that with our Flash, he was not going to change, and we didn't want him to change. We wanted to be mindful that we respect Flash for who he is. And he's a slow character. And that sort of led us to creating a new character voiced by Charlotte Nickdow. and this Sam, the server, and she was the character who needed to arc, who needed to learn a lesson, not Flash himself. So that it was great. It sort of did, it helped us understand our characters, this world of Zootopia, a little bit better, and decide who was going to arc and who was going to change and who just stayed who they were.
I love early on, just real quick, early on, the sloth was actually the server, if I remember correctly. Like Flash, we played with the idea of that.
That might have been more stressful.
Yeah,
it would be a 30-minute episode because of how slow everything went. So it's not a short anymore. And so Jose and Trent were wise to say, you know what? Flash is an amazing character in himself. How can we create someone new?
Yeah, and we're, again, very lucky to have Raymond Percy come back and do and voice Flash, and
we had Kristen Bell too, who reprised her role as Priscilla.
Hit it out of the park. Really great.
For the Real Housewives episode, how much of the actual Real Housewives show did you want to actually bring to this episode?
Josie,
We definitely we watched the episode. So Charles, I must admit, I was a fan of reality TV and the Housewives genre show. And so I admitted, I was a little shameful, but I admitted to Trent and Nathan that I watched the series and loved it. And so we definitely were inspired by it, but also episodes or movies like Bridesmaid or other kind of shows like Say Yes to the Dress. So it was very much inspired by that reality TV genre and Bridesmaids and that sort of comedy.
And everybody, right, Josie, like every artist, every leadership on the crew kind of had to dive into that too. There's so much specificity, whether it's the camera work, the lighting, the way the characters act in front of the camera. Everybody, we got the whole studio loving reality TV, right? We got them on board.
We really wanted to show those little details like, oops, we caught the boom mic in the shot, or, quick whip pans, or have the camera have this handheld feeling that I credit Joaquin Baldwin, who's our cinematography head of layout. He really helped us lean into that aspect of the genre.
Yeah.
Jose, I want to ask you, what was it like transitioning from the writer's room to actually more of a directorial position here? Because I'm Filipino myself, so it is nice to see someone there. So I want to ask, what it was like to transition to that?
It was a dream come true to work on a project, Zootopia, to work with this world and those characters who I loved so much and had so much fun, to return to this world again with Trent and learn so much from him as an animator and a great storyteller in his own right. It was a joy to be given this kind of freedom and control and to have fun. I really learned probably way more than what I contributed. I feel like I learned about aspects beyond the story room, all these different departments, Charles, that I had never experienced. I got to learn what a visual effects soup does, and Greg Smith was a great partner. So again, aspects, we live in our own little bubbles that sort of became enhanced while working remotely. And I got to see a window into this amazing studio and all these amazing artists and craftsmen and women. So it was a joy. It was an honor to work alongside of these great folks.
And I really quickly, Charles, I got to correct Josie for a second. Her contributions, even though she'd only been in story, she thinks story and characters so well. So even though those new departments like lighting or animation were brand new to her, her notes always got to the core. She is so good with everybody on the crew. We just had a blast. So her contributions far exceeded.